and I hurt his feelings, and I'm like, oh no. And he's like, so it's super late over here, I'm going to bed. I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you soon, man. Sorry. And now I feel like crap. So there's that. I'm learning to be far more sensitive, and it's mind-blowing. You'll find it doesn't, no matter what somebody's background is, they could be like a hardened war veteran, and everybody has feelings. We all have feelings, and we have to be careful with those feelings, because you could I'll tell you, I meet a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, and it doesn't matter. Everyone's got feelings. We all do. And we feel so pressured to live that social persona. But when the walls come crashing down, I mean, I think we're all sad on some level, you know? And tomorrow, let them know, yeah, that's what I said to him. I said, let's chat tomorrow. Maybe we could chat tomorrow and fix that. I can fix that. Or, you know, whatever I'm supposed to do. But being married has been challenging me as a human as a human being in total. In a lot of ways, that's been difficult, because feelings, obviously. I have even more feelings than I had before. I have become defensive and protective, and albeit even a little assertive and a little aggressive on levels I have never been before. And I'm quite proud of it. I mean, I'm standing up to sometimes middle-aged men and older men that are like, you know, being a certain way towards my wife, and it's funny to see their reaction when I stand up for her. When I, you know, stand out, I'm like, hey, shut up. And because nobody expects it, right? Because I'm not that way, but I do. And then they're like, they kind of go hide, and it's wonderful, because like I'm ready. I am ready. I'm always ready. I'm learning what it means to be in a serious relationship and have that protective heart, and have that, like, what on earth makes you think you're breathing into the next day if you come within 6 feet without respect of the woman I love? And people are starting to get smart around me, and it's good. And I've never had to be that way, but I'll tell you, if you're somebody out there that's sensitive the way that I am, there may come a time when you have to get a little tough, and it's not fun, and it's not the way I like to be. But I'm finding out I'm so good at looking like I'm weak, and so good at looking like I'm whatever, that I get that kindness mistaken for weakness on a level that's like, no, like that you're coming to the line that if you cross that, I may have to eat you for dinner. Like, you're not crossing the line where I'm going to get upset. It's like, does the look on my face not match what I'm feeling? Do you not understand that, like, this is a boundary that it is not possible for you to cross? And, like, people don't understand that, because most people don't really stand up for themselves like that. And I say to all of you, do that. Like, seriously, have your boundaries set and don't let people cross them. And if they're dumb enough to think that they're either tricky enough or smart enough to cross that boundary, make it known. Make it known in one way or the other that it's going to cost them more than they can afford. Because when it comes to cowards and losers, they always look for whatever's easy, okay? So don't be afraid of somebody that puffs up all big. They're usually the weak ones. It's the people that are quiet that you have to watch out for. That's the truth. It's the people that are quiet. But if someone's sizing up to you and they're trying to be all tough, call their bluff, you know? Or if someone's messing with you, give them a little bit of a challenge. People that initiate a challenge like that are usually doing it because they think it's going to be easy. And if you give them half a second of, hey, I can handle myself, it's usually enough for them to back down and go back to their own business. But that's a brand new lesson for me, because I have been letting people mess with my life and trample all over me for my entire life, essentially my entire life. And now I have begun to stand up for myself and stand in my own corner. And oh my gosh, I did not realize that if I just show my teeth every now and again, that life could be far easier. And I don't like being mean, and it hurts my feelings, and it damages me a little bit. But if you do that instead of letting people step all over you, like, it depends on how much energy you have. Like for me, I let it go to the point where if my food, water, shelter is questioned, that's when I'm ready. Like anything before that, I'm not. But now I have a family I have to take care of, and so it's like, if my food, water, or shelter are threatened, that's when I have to get that way. And I think it's because it's such a new thing for me that I'm meeting a lot of people that get taken off guard when I get defensive in an appropriate way, because they're like, you know, you could tell that I really never really stood up for myself because of where my life is. And so now that I am, it's exponentially increasing, and it's good. But it's definitely the pivot no one expected. But it's not a freaking pivot. It's me growing into the entirety of who I am, and that's that. Alright, and here's another thing, like I said, about standing my ground. It's going to be on the internet too. It's the same on the internet. If you come at me passive aggressive, if you come at me with your tricks and your psycho crap, it's done. I don't have time for you. And that goes for a lot of people. And there's a lot of people that run their platform with the goal of getting rich and famous. I'm not about that. I'm about transparency and reality. And so if you come at me, I'm not going to talk about it. I don't have time for it. I'm going to move on with my day, and you're going to find out that the next broadcast, either you can't watch it or you don't have the ability to comment in it. So this goes out to anybody watching on my platform, or if you're watching from somewhere else, I recommend that you get your bearings straight, because you're not going to have a chance to speak to me. And I do mean that. And I mean to the point, if the platform begins to be abused and my live streams begin to be abused, you're going to have to wait to see me on live stream. It means that I'm going to do more recordings, and I'm going to do more photos and this and that, and you're going to have to wait. And I know there's a lot of people out there that's, oh, well, No, I'm your main source of entertainment, and I'm fully aware of that. So I highly recommend that you become far more respectful. I don't care if you're twice my age. Suck it up, get over it, and get some respect, because you have to earn respect from me as opposed to demand it. Because for a lot of you out there that you're keyboard warriors and you think you're tough, you are half my size. And if you don't think you're half my size, meet me in real life. You may be twice my physical size. I'm not ready for a fight. I'm ready to let you know that this is real life, and I think you forgot. I have not forgotten. I know this is real life. I'm the one sitting in this car. Wherever you're sitting, whatever you're doing, good for you. This is my real life. I stand up for it. And I recommend you get respect, because if you don't, you're going to find out you're not nearly as tough as you thought. And on top of that, I'm finding out that there's a lot of people out there that do think they're pretty damn tough until they find out I'm standing up for my family, and they're surrounded by people that don't support their behavior. There was a guy at a gas station a while back who he rumbled his car real loud, and it upset my wife. It woke her up, and I let him know. I put my window down, and I politely said, hey, do you think you can be a little quieter? You woke up my wife, and she's trying to sleep. His response was to blast on the gas and make it real loud. And so then he blasts down the highway down to the nearest gas station, and pulls over on the road there by the gas station, and spits on our windshield right in front of my wife. And so I pull over real quick, right? And I get out of the car, and he's all ready to go. And I go up to him, and I'm having polite words the whole time, right? So like the lady there, she called the cops, and we didn't end up talking to him, but I'm figuring that the gas station recorded the whole thing. And I'm there talking to him. I mean, plain as day, in a calm voice. And he pushes me, and he caused some sort of bruising or something. He did something to my chest. I had a hard time breathing for a couple of weeks, but for about a week. And that's whatever. I'm not going to let that happen twice, but I didn't expect it to hurt later. Otherwise, I probably would have fought back a little bit. But he was pushing me, and I'm looking him in the face. I'm like, are you not getting the point? This is my wife. This is my family. And, you know, oh, you're this, you're that, your wife's a this, your wife's a that, your mother's a this. And I'm like, why do you, and the only thing I had to say to him then, I look at him and I go, you're alone. You're surrounded and you're alone. Look around. And he's this guy from the middle of the city thinking he's hot, you know, hot stuff. He's like, I have a $100,000 car, and you had. I'm like, I seriously didn't have anything. I didn't even know what to say. I'm like, why do you think? What about what you're saying is supposed to upset me or get me triggered? None of this is bothering me. What's bothering me is your disrespect, your psychosis. You're like, you need a doctor, man. And that's what I said to him as he's going out, and he's calling me gay, and I'm like, you're putting hands on me. You're putting your hands on me. People are crazier every day. You know, I'll tell you what, sometimes that's part of the fun. Admittedly, sometimes that's part of the fun, is I did not realize how weak a lot of people who look really big are. I didn't know that until I really started standing up to them. I'm like, I was afraid of these people for so long, and I mean, they're more afraid of me than I am of them, and it's awesome. So, I mean, even when we were in Vegas, there was this guy who he was definitely part of something, if you understand what I'm saying, and scared him off. And I didn't do anything. I looked him dead in the eye and I said, don't. That's all I said. I said, don't. And they kept walking. So it's good to know that this whole time I could have prevented a lot of this by standing up for myself, and the more I tried to back down, the worse it got. So there's a good balance between being respectful and standing your ground. And I'll tell you, when you're able to put the two together, stand your ground and be respectful, cowards run away. And if they don't, someone's gonna end up snapping their neck one day. So you don't have to worry about it. Somebody will do it. I'm telling you, like, natural selection, if you don't know what natural selection is, it's like survival of the fittest. And if you don't know what that is, it's pretty much, if you're the fittest, you survive. It's not the strongest, it's the most adaptable. So, you know, people like that, like, I run my mouth, but I back it up. If you find people that are running their mouth like that, they usually get pushed back into their hole, and you gotta let them be pushed back into their hole, and it's gonna go that way. So I'm ready for the challenge, I'm ready for the fight, I'm living my life, and I have nothing to back down from anymore. I could tell you, all I have left are when there are those people that hide behind their career. That's disappointing. People that hide behind, whether it be a badge, whether it be a belief, whether it be their family, you know, whatever the coward may be, it takes a lot of intelligence and a lot of work to pull people like that out of the dark, that they have to face that they're not as strong as they claim. And oftentimes they'll try to come at you from behind it, you know, like they're so freaking dirty and disgusting. They'll be like this, and then they're like, boom, and then they're hiding again, and they're like, he, something's funny. And it ain't funny, because the night that their door is unlocked, karma's gonna get them. And that's where I stand with that. So yeah, that was the experience with the guy in the orange Dodge Charger. He was a freaking psycho, and it ended with him getting back in his car and running away before the cops showed up. And it was very liberating for me, because I'm there standing up for my wife, and I get back in the car and I asked her, I'm like, how do you feel about how I handled that situation? You know, is there something you want me to do different? And she looks me in the eye and affirms me and says, I'm proud of you. And that's exactly what I expect from you. And that's all I needed to hear, because it's to stand up for the people you love and the people you care about, and doing so with honor and valor and respect. And it's a good thing to do. It's a good thing to do, and it gains respect. And I used to be afraid of the police. For anybody out there that may be brainwashed against the police, I'm not for or against these institutions and these establishments. I'm a rather indifferent person when it comes to a lot of this. I live my own life, I live it my way, and I try to live on the outskirts of the deeper parts of that. And I do so because that's my part in life, that's my role in society. I don't recommend trying to do what I do if you are someone who is immersed in society. And no different, I hope you wouldn't recommend for me to immerse myself in society, seeing that this is a good, healthy place for me to be and for my family to be. So, as far as the police go, since COVID hit and since we've been out here, we had a couple of unfortunate experiences and uncomfortable conversations. But as our morale continued to go up and we continued to build our confidence and really believe in ourselves and push through it, and maintain as much respect as possible, which we did pretty well, we were able to get back on our feet for the most part rather quickly without going to jail or without getting tickets or any of that, because we maintain that respect, but we also put the work in. And you got to stay a little clever. That's true too. So you have to keep it on the up and up as much as you can. I can say that I managed to get to this point without committing any crimes. And there's a lot of people that can't say that, and I want you to know, if you can't say that, I don't judge you. I can tell you that, and I'm telling you right now, as weird as this may sound, if I could go back to when we first started getting on our feet, I probably would have stolen stuff. I probably would have. Like, there is so much struggle that my wife and I went through that I did not realize, like, there's crimes that we definitely would have gotten away with if we committed them, that we may have needed to, you know, there was, like, ironically, the way the system is set up in such a way where there is so much risk involved for you to keep yourself alive without leaning on the system, or, you know, if you don't have friends, that, I mean, it's almost impossible not to get incarcerated. I mean, like, it's almost impossible. And the police aren't bad people, but I think no different than the rest of us in our careers and in our life, we can be opportunists, right? And so if the opportunity presents itself, are you gonna say no? So I can tell you, as far as social media goes, when it was still kind of the Wild West and there was a lot of opportunity in that perspective, you know, I took it by the balls, excuse my language, I took it by the gonads, and I said, this is mine, and I took it, and I did it legally. And in the same token, I mean, I took advantage, right? And that's a good thing to do in business, is to take advantage. But when you're an employee, that conversation is beyond what I can speak on, because I'm not an employee, right? But I can speak on having compassion for taking advantage when you see it. But I also, and that goes both ways, you know, for the person who's taken something that they shouldn't, and someone who's taken something that they shouldn't, and then the two people saying to each other that you shouldn't be taking it, the other guy says you shouldn't be taking it, and then they keep taking from each other and expect us to decide who's right and who's wrong, and I don't have time for that, so you guys can decide that on your own time. All I know is humans are humans, and I have friends all over the map, and it's going to stay that way no matter who pressures me in what direction. And these past couple of months have definitely been me pushing back at society and saying, hey, look, like, I've been giving you what I have for free for a long time, and I'm going to continue to do that, but I demand the respect. I demand the human respect. Like, it came past a tipping point where I'm beginning to get, you know, real and appropriate treatment. I'm like, look, I don't have to be doing what I'm doing, and you say you don't like it, but it provides a value to society that other people aren't doing. So this is my niche, this is what I do, and this is how I do it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch, and you don't have to be involved. And if you do, then watch and be involved. And if you're not going to be involved, don't share your opinion with me, because I only have time for people that are active, as I am active. And that's fair, and that's a hard one. And I do recommend that you involve that in your life. I do. That's one that I have to say is definitely, I'm not going to budge on that one, where, like, don't give people your energy that only take it. Like, if you're gonna do it in charity, do it in charity. Absolutely, all the time, absolutely, as much as you can afford. And yes, you know, there is such thing as cannot afford. I used to believe there's no such thing as not being able to afford something, but there definitely is. Okay, that's how it is. It's not always about, well, how hard can you work to get it. It's sometimes there's an appropriate line where I tell myself, hey, it's healthier that I cannot afford something, and I tell myself no. And, you know, if you can't afford to give, then don't. And I mean, today when I bought my wife her wedding ring, I got asked, hey, do you want to donate? And we rounded it up. Like, that's all we did was rounded it up, and I felt so guilty because I could not give any more than like 75 cents. And I mean, could I? I technically could, but if I'm at the point where I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my bank account and I know that everything in my bank account, I need it for my bills, and I'm feeling guilty for not giving the rest of it, that's learned helplessness. That's being pressured. That's you know, that's manipulation. That's having been manipulated. So I'm starting to take your advice, and I'm talking about a lot of you here that watch. You have a lot of advice about, you know, I should be taking care of myself and this and that, and so I am, you know. And my wife comes from a middle class background, and I'm learning a lot about you guys who, like, most of my audience, they are middle class. You guys are middle class, and I'm sorry, I was so wrong. And there are so many lessons about life and so many things that you do that I massively undervalued. And now, instilling and establishing these rules, regulations, and this education into my family and instilling those values into my family, I mean, I was missing out on your advice for a very long time. I was missing out on your advice for a very long time. I can say that it's very hard to find a happy person in the middle class. That's a blanket statement and a bland statement. It's not made to point fingers in any direction, because I don't have the data on why that is, but I can speak for a fact that it's true that most people I meet that are middle class are downright miserable. And it's not prejudice. I'm not that way. I'm not robotic, but I'm very like, what you see is what you get, and what I see is how I call it. And as I learn more and become more educated, my opinion changes. At this point right now, that's the best that I have with that, is a lot of misery. And so I think what's missing is that spark of life. And I think half of what the middle class does is very smart, and I think the poor and the rich are dumb for telling the middle class they're wrong. And I think the middle class are dumb for stepping on the poor and for putting their nose up to the rich, because we could all be learning things from one another. I mean, from poor to rich, I've seen all three facets of life there, and I'm telling you, what the middle class is missing, it's not what the poor have. I'll blow your mind on that. The rich are missing what the poor have, and the middle class are missing what the rich have. And what the rich have is peace of mind. They're not working themselves to death, and the middle class very much do that. And the poor, all right, so if somebody who's poor is working themselves to death, there's some exterior circumstance, and that's appropriate and that's fine. But if I'm speaking on this, I'm speaking on statistics, I'm speaking on the basics, and I'm speaking in such a way where I'm generalizing. So if I'm generalizing, don't make it specific for your own freaking, you know. And somebody's always going to do that. You can't let that go to heart. So, and what are poor people missing? Money. Saying it. Has to be said. It's coming from me. It's coming from Mr. Feet Piece over here. I'm telling you. Money. Money is what poor people are missing. Money. And if you get it for free, it ain't free. If you're poor and you want money, don't steal it. Don't steal money. That's my viewpoint. If you're gonna steal, like, don't steal money. It's a mental thing. It's a mindset thing. If you're poor and you steal money, it changes the way you think about life. And if you try to do anything except earn it, you're not gonna keep it. And that's the way society is engineered. It doesn't have to do with your thinking. Is that if you get that money any other way than earning it within the American ecosystem, now we're talking on the US dollar, you're not going to be able to keep it. You got to call my bluff on that anytime you want, but unless you break the law. If you break the law and you're trying to tell me you're telling the truth, you're lying to my face. You cheated somehow. Because our system, it's not perfect, but it is very well refined, and make sure that we get to keep what we earn. So we get to have things we haven't earned, but it's impossible to keep something you have not earned. Impossible. And if you have something you haven't earned, you better be ready to pay through the nose to, you know, to keep that. So anyway, being homeless and living in a vehicle, are you rich or poor? Well, if we're speaking on money, I'm poor. Well, I mean, there's no conversation about that. That's that. If we're talking about money, I'm a poor man. That's a fact. If you're someone who trusts someone's opinion on life or their viewpoint based on money, you're a poor man. in the mind, even if you're not poor in the pocket. And what I mean is, if you're looking for someone, if you're looking to listen to someone's life advice, and you're looking for someone who has money for life advice, and that's all you're looking at, then you're poor in the spirit. I say poor in the mind. It's not true. It's poor in the spirit. I'm sorry about that. It's not poor in mind. And that's what I used to think. I used to think that if you're poor in the mind, then you're thinking that way. But someone who's poor of spirit, someone who has let that misery consume them, that is usually when it becomes a conversation about misarticulating what value looks like. So what value sounds like is pretty easy to figure out no matter what your spirit's at. That's about having a sound mind. But what it looks like, it's hard to figure out what it looks like if you got an ugly spirit. So I can usually tell whether I want to even look up when I pull into a gas station, or if I just want to pump my gas and focus on my life, whether or not people pulling into the parking lot, like the ratio of how many people make sure to click that lock and make it make a noise. And if they make it make a noise, it may sound like they're being defensive or protective. They're not. That is somebody who feels unheard. It's psychology. That's somebody who says, okay, you're confident and living in your position. Well, I'm over here and I got my brand new whatever vehicle it may be, and I'm miserable, and that's not fair that you're happy. And like, maybe if I get a little more attention, because you're obviously getting attention, that's going to make me happy. It's somebody trying to replicate a process to figure out how they can get that happiness. And attention does not get happiness. It doesn't. It gets you a high, but it doesn't get you happiness. So like, you can tell that, right? I love it. I do. I absolutely love it. I think we all do. But in order to make that viable, it has to be sustainable and turn into something humble. And that's really hard. So that's what we do with that. But I mean, if you really want that peace and happiness, it comes from self-actualization. It comes from saying whether I even like myself or not, I'm going to say that's fine. And I am what I am. And there's nothing I can do about it. Like, oh, there you go. Perfect example. I mean, the way I'm raised is so different than my biology and what I'm born into. And that's something that only now I'm starting to ascertain and really starting to wrap my head around, is that the way that I'm born, I mean, I'm born of criminals. It's true. I'm born of criminals. And that's not who I am. But it explains a lot to me as I wrap my head around that, why I have been treated since coming out into the public as though I'm a criminal. It's because I come from a background of criminals, and that's my birthright, right? So my birthright's crap, and that's that. But it doesn't always have to be that way, right? If you ever hear of breaking generational curses, you can break generational curses. And so you focus on that. You focus on breaking generational curses. And you learn to live your own life and focus on yourself and in the ways that you have to. And you say whatever else is said about it doesn't matter, because for every person that leaves the broadcast, there's going to be 100 more that show up. It does not matter. And when I say it does not matter, I mean it does not matter. So don't put energy into something that doesn't produce for you. And I do really mean that. At the same time, understand that something's not going to produce for you unless you either deserve it or you're a good person. I mean, when I say a good person, I mean someone that's productive in society and has a good heart. You got to have both. You got to have both. There's so many people that think you cannot cheat the system. And let me tell you something. If you that badly want to be that productive person in society and want to make that difference, you get ready to make sacrifices, and get ready that if you're going to put in that persistence, that the world is going to rip away from you the things that you value and desire. And it's going to help you find the things that truly bring value and desire. It's not perpetual effort. It's something where it's done to you, not you. That you're the active part of the process you take in a transformation from who you know to be to who you want to be is very communal. It's so much more communal than people think it is. And I'll say as well, when you're making that transformation, when you have someone in society who, or you have people in society that try to get you to conform and say, well, you need to be like us, or you need to, I know there's a lot of videos out there that talk about how you need to fight the curve and this and that. It's true. Please understand as well, when they're doing that, not everybody that does that to you or for you is trying to hurt you. And some people are trying to help you. They're not helping you. If you're trying to become that other person, they are not helping you to you. But in perspective, to them, they are helping you, okay? And by all technicalities, they are. Let me explain. If they try to help you that way, they're not going to get the results they're looking for. But neither are you. And it's going to change them a little bit. And that's their prerogative and their problem. If they choose to step into your environment and you're bullheaded and you're pushing through to where you want to be, however that affects them, it falls onto them. They chose to step into your environment, right? And if you step into theirs, you got to understand, if you step into a social environment of multiple people, you're not violating the environment of the culture if you're keeping to yourself and doing what you got to do. If someone within that culture or that environment steps out of their way to get in your way, or to try and get you to coalesce into their mindset, they made a personal decision. They have an individual identity. And if they violate your personal space, you have every right to push back and say, hey, this is my space. Well, you're in our environment. I'm aware of that. This is America. The environment doesn't belong to you. It's malleable. It can change. And if you don't like that change, kicking me out isn't the answer. Being indifferent. That's what you do. So what's my point in that? If somebody does push on you, take the compliment. If somebody pushes on you, they're saying whether they want to change you or they want to be changed, you exist. You're being acknowledged, okay? And I didn't accept that. I didn't appreciate that about how many of you have acknowledged me, and I thought it's so bad and so scary until I have someone semi-fix my car and kind of do something else to it that could cause it to break way worse than what they fixed over whatever jealousy they had, right? And before, I mean, all you guys did was play with my head. And as much as I thought that that was the worst thing, I'm like, well, you play with my head, it could make me crazy or stupid. Now, there were some people that tried to get me to kill myself, but, you know, I was the idiot that didn't block them, and that's on me. And those people should be in, you know, prison, because that's attempted murder, but I guess whatever, right? And so now we're here, and I figure if someone's trying to get my car to break down, and I got I have my pregnant wife in the car, I'm beginning to understand that society and humanity, we're a lot more brutal than I really wanted to admit to myself. And in the same token, there's a lot of people, oftentimes, it's the people that get paranoid and scared that someone's going to do something to them that are the good people. So when I'm going to a gas station, I want to talk to somebody who's not triple locking their car, but at the same time, that person's going to be the person trying to screw me, and the person triple locking their car is afraid of me, and I'm afraid of them, but we're both normal, right? And then it cuts off that, it's socially isolating. So I'm tangenting mostly because I'm having a great time. I'm happy you guys are hanging out, and I really, really, really missed live streaming. So if I go in circles and I'm all over the place, I'm fully aware of that, and it's called I don't care, okay? I am so excited and having so much fun that it doesn't much bother me how it comes out, and if it bothers you that much, then that's fine, but I don't judge anybody, or at least I do my best not to, and it'd be nice that my own space is a safe space too, you know? So, yeah. So that's that. This is... Hollywood chews you up and spits you out, I hear. I don't know. I'll tell you, I've been a lot of places. I think there's a lot of places that can chew you up and spit you out. It depends on where you fit in, you know, and I hate to say that. Fitting in, oh my gosh, I always fought that phrase, the phrase fit in, but I'll tell you, to a certain degree, there has to be some form of coalescence. You have to be able to fit in a little bit. And by a little bit, I do mean a little bit. If you're looking to build something big, You don't want to fit in too much, like 10% you want to fit in, but if you're not fitting in 10%, you may end up in the position I was in. You may end up really, really embarrassed. So I'm learning to get along at least enough to get done what I want to get done and what I need to get done. And that's my recommendation, is to stay focused on you. Look in that mirror and tell yourself who you are. Because who's doing this? This live streaming thing. Who's doing it? Not a lot of people. And by who's doing it, I mean who's really doing it. Not the simply having support of anybody, but having attention. You know, you have a lot of these kids out there and a lot of people that are live streaming, and like they get the moment, right? And they capture that moment. But I have people that are here with this platform and follow me for years, going on years. And I mean, we're talking in a situation that's supposed to be momentary. These people are like, I'm getting a YouTube, is it YouTube, would it be? Facebook, what do you call it? Facebook audience? No, you call it Facebook friends. You know, I have people in my environment. Oh, here's how I said it to Kate the other day. How did I say it to honey? It's like being in high school. It's like being, our life is like being in high school, like being the kids in high school that are, see, and I'm cocky about it because I've never been the popular kid, but it's like being the popular kid in high school on a national level, but being cocky, then you get shit, you know. So you're technically popular, but I don't think you guys realize that I'm not a bully, and I sure didn't mean to come off as one. So I'm working on that, and I think part of that is realizing that my words have a lot more impact than I knew. So I try to be a lot more careful with what I say and how I say it. I also am finding out that a lot of people, at least where I'm at, like, park funny. And I'm parked normal, and I'm like, does that make me funny? And I never thought about those things before, but now I do. Safe travels. Thank you. This has been fun. I was supposed to post a third YouTube video tonight, but I thought that was a bit excessive, so I decided that I'm going to stay here and hang out with you. And I'm coming to realize that I do have thousands of people that watch me on a daily basis from a whole lot of different places. And, I mean, on a bunch of different channels and everything, right? Because I allowed that to happen. But at the same time, it's like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that those people watch from other places, because I don't want them here. I don't. I think there's a lot of creators that won't say that. You know, they don't have the gall to say, hey, that person's horrible to me and I don't want them. They're whether they're thinking about their paycheck or they're trying to be like extra sensitive. So I'm a sensitive guy. I am. At the same time, my gosh, I am standing up for myself, because I'm watching my industry get reamed out so hard, and so many of these people are getting, I mean, they're losing who they are. They're giving up every piece of who they are. And I mean, no matter how much money they have, is that really all that different than being any other kind of sellout? It's not. It's really not. So I'm proud of myself for sticking to my guns. I'm proud of myself for even though back then was probably the darkest thing I think any of us could say we've ever seen, and myself included. And it would be fantastic to throw me at the center of that, but you know, that's a psychotic lie. I'd have to say that I was at the peak of it. Absolutely, I'll take credit for that. I was at the peak of it all. I was the worst, yeah. But I think a lot of people managed to, get on part of me there, and my behaviors were entirely in self-defense, which is, yeah, crazy that they had to be. So now coming up into this and where we're in a much more positive space, and it's good. And I think that if we had not chosen to embrace that space the way that we did, and I'm talking maybe even all three of us, you know, and we could cut it down to the two of us, and now ironically the three of us, if we had not made that space what it was for ourselves, our future would have looked a whole lot worse. So we chose to take on all those hits and all that emotion right then and there, and it's behooving us in our life right now. And none of us knew COVID was coming, right? I mean, I had my own stuff that I don't really talk about, but like I had my own thoughts on that, and none of us saw it coming. But we went through some of the hardest stuff right then and there. And then when the pandemic hit, I mean, it wasn't a piece of cake, but I still remember when Kate and I went to the grocery store. We were staying in a hotel, you know, and we had this dude take us to a grocery store, and all the aisles were blocked off. It was like a maze. It was like a mouse maze, and it's hard to talk about. And I mean, we walked into that store. It was the first thing we knew about it. We went into the aisles where all the toiletries and the paper towels were, and we had to ask somebody, hey, what happened? What is this? And they were like, there's an international pandemic. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's not because we didn't care, we weren't attentive, or we were that nonchalant, but rather that we are that, you know, things were that thick for us in our life that we didn't have a minute to think about what was going on outside our four walls. And that was wild. And now that that's over, thank God, we are being able to, all of us really, and I'm sure a lot of you as well, finding the blessings and the recognition of how we're all, a lot of us, able to handle an international pandemic way better than if it had ended with that negativity, right? It ended up being a lesson for a lot of people on human respect, and I mean thousands and thousands of people. And that's usually the best lessons and the best stuff is it goes unheard, and it doesn't get publicized, and it doesn't get talked about. And I think that's the beauty of the secret here, you know, and something that our class of people does well, I have to say, is where when something like that goes down, you keep it to yourselves, and in the same token, you learn every possible lesson you can from it. And I'm so grateful to have met all of you, and that includes the people that I don't want in my broadcast. I would be nowhere without any of you. If for the people here with us and for the people watching elsewhere, I would be nowhere without you. And I wouldn't trade you for the world. Even the people that don't like me, keep not liking me. Stay that way. Be you. Be whoever you are. If you don't like me, keep hating me. That's fine. But I hope we have all learned the lesson that we are one human race, and that's not some forefront or something that I get to say. You say it too. And that's why I love being on the platform I'm on. That's why I love my platforms, and that's why I love this family here in this community. And I'm talking all the way from the people watching to elsewhere. We are all family because we're all on the same level. And that was my goal from day one. And I think in life it doesn't always happen the way we want it to, but it happens the way it has to happen. And this is the way it has to happen, and I'm grateful for that. This has potentially, I'd say, toppled an entire industry and said that it can be done in a way that it can't be done, right? Where the people truly choose, and not where there's this like bot and that thing and that thing and that thing, where there's no hierarchy to it. It's not a stoppable force. It's a lot of individuals, a lot of Americans who say, hey, I want to watch this, or I want to do something about this, or whether it's good or bad. It's a lot of true Americans brought up into the same space. And even if it's hatred against me, or, you know, love for me, or love for the American community as a whole, no matter what, we have definitely shown how stubborn we can be for how many times they have tried to shut us down. And I don't even mean my platform. I'm talking about any of you out there, including me. How many times that they have tried to shut you down, or get you paranoid, or scare you off, that each and every one of us continue to fight forward. And no matter what brings us together, we always find a way to come together. So I have to say the number one thing that you all have brought to my life is the understanding of is to help me understand the value of my American citizenship, and to help me understand the value of living in this country, something that I massively undervalued, underappreciated, and I know to this day that I still underappreciate it. I'm fully aware that I do, more than likely, underappreciate my American value. And that's a big reason I'm excited to go out into the world and see the rest of the world, because it's going to help invigorate my understanding of how much we truly have here in this country. And, you know, we could have so much and still not appreciate it. And that appreciation factor truly makes the difference between success and failure in this country. And don't think that there's no second chances or any of that. I'm coming to find out that, like, sometimes it's the meanest of us, sometimes it's the worst of us. And seriously, if you don't know that, so I have found that it is the people that I used to think were the worst people and like the most evil, like evil people, that when push comes to shove and they see you in a struggle, it's like their entire persona and all that they're holding up against you, it falls to the ground. They put it to the side and they say, I hate your guts, as they're putting out a hand to help you stand up. And it's impossible to hold back the tears. And I have been there, I say at least a dozen times in the past year, where the person that I know is supposed to be putting a knife to my throat or putting a bullet in my brain is the person that puts out their hand and says, you're not done. Get up. Get up. And it's invigorated me to this level of toughness in my life, which I know my voice, I sound weak. I know how I sound. I'm becoming aware of how I sound. You have to look into the behaviors, because that's also American, is the adaptability, where it doesn't matter what your background is. You can spit like a viper if you learn to spit like a viper. It doesn't matter what you come from. If you learn to adapt, you can become anything you want to be. So it's pretty cool. How are you, Joey? It's good to see you. And something that is also the most American is disacknowledgement. I want you to think about who started this country. This country was started by men who were the most disacknowledged in society. And women, and alternate identities. I don't have the history on that one. This country was started by people who were the most outcast, disassociated, and completely downtrodden. And they ended up being the heroes of this land. And while we're trying to repaint history and say it the way we want to, that's mostly people who have gotten drunken on their money and believe that the money they have gains them an ability to alter history in a way that's appropriate to their agendas. And, you know, I can't say that I know how all that goes. All I do know is the people that started this country are some of the most intelligent people that I to this day know about. And I mean, I'm a digger. I'm a digger. Like, you guys know I'm a digger. And you guys a lot of you are diggers. And I mean, it's impossible to fathom the level of intelligence it took to put together what we have here in this country. And to think that it's going to fall away based on some sort of anything. Like, I don't see this falling apart anytime soon, personally. I don't. I think it's a coup. I don't think it's going anywhere. And I think people need to relax on that and stop being so scared that we're going to lose this country. I seriously don't think it's conceivably possible, at least within the next couple of generations. Because if we are this intelligent, which we are like, we may not have a lot of good test scores for certain type of schooling. We sure know how to adapt. With that said, I'm proud to be an American, and at the same time I hate being an American. And it's the funniest thing, you know, like, and I'm starting to wonder if that's what it means to be an American, is to appreciate and disappreciate at the same time. You know, because if you're too much into it, and let me say this, maybe this will blow a couple people's minds, maybe it won't, maybe I'll bore you, maybe you know it already, but to be too American is un-American. It's anti-American to be too American. And that's not that way anywhere else in the world. Like, if you are too American, it is considered anti-American, because part of the American way is the freedom. And if you're too much for the American way and the way that we do things culture-wise, it is anti-American because it is not supportive of our freedoms. Because part of our freedom is freedom of expression. And to express ourselves outside of that American culture is part of American culture. So, like, to be in this country as an American and express your culture, even if it's different from the albeit American culture, which is curated in those empty spaces between cultures, right? And that's where the most change in life exists, is between ecosystems. So if you have a forest and you have a pasture, between the forest and the pasture exists the most life. And that's the American culture. The American culture is where there's the most life, is between the cultures. So it's pretty cool to be able to express your culture, but if you're looking for the most growth, you gotta look for that space where there's the most growth. But when you're in the space of the most growth, you can't really associate with what's inside the forest or what's in the pasture, because it moves at a different pace and it doesn't change near as fast. But at the same time, if you stay in that space too long, well, I mean, you don't want to be, how do I put it? If you don't stand for anything, you fall for anything, right? If you don't stand for something, you fall for everything. So it's a hard balance. It's a darn hard balance. I'm hoping some of y'all are keeping up with me. If there's a couple of y'all in here, I'm sure you are, and that's good. We should be okay. That's right. It's the hating an American in a bad way. It's like it's the citizenship. It's the citizenship, and so all this rinse and repeat. You give up on the rinse and repeat. I appreciate that, Joey Beach. Thank you. You know, there's a lot of people that wish they could control me. That do wish they could control me. And I'm sorry to tell you guys, you're not American enough for me. You're not. You can't keep up with me. It's not possible. I'm telling you for a fact, it's not possible. So I do recommend you quit, because I've gone from it upsetting me to me finding it comical, to the point where, like, I may play with it and let it keep going. So. And you can take it for a fact that how do I put this? I have permission to speak about my wife. None of you ever will. It's a fact. You can do it at your own peril. It's my wife. Let me help you. I'm gonna help you out here. I'm raised in one family for the most part, and I'm blessed on that. I am. Moving on to where I'm at in my life, most of my past is kind of shrouded out. So I don't really have anything or anybody except the woman next to me. And I'm a very loyal, protective, and assertive man. I don't get what I want. I take what I want. I'm getting respect. I'm letting you know that you're going to respect me one way or the other. I recommend doing it sooner than later, because later means I never knew you to begin with. And I can tell you that I'm always going to be human the rest of my life. And I remember pretty much almost everything. I got an elephant memory. And I'm going to remember that you disrespected me. And that's fine. You can disrespect me. I usually, I find a way to manage that. Because I want my children to understand compassion. I want them to be able to stand up for themselves, but we want them to understand compassion as well. But it was said to me one time by a priest, ironically enough, and he said, if you're dealing with the spiritual world, and now I want you to take this into metaphor, bring it into the real world, because if you're dealing with me, you're dealing with something borderline spiritual, because I am not on that high of a vibration that you will get torn in half. It's a fact. Be afraid. Have fear. It's healthy. You should have fear if you disrespect my wife. He said, if you're dealing with something in the spiritual world, that pray to Our Lady. Now, this has come from a Catholic perspective, okay? And I'm not having that conversation. But the point is, what would you do to protect your mother? What would you do to protect your mother? I imagine anything. If you got some sense of decency, even if she's a horrible person. Anything. There was a TikTok of a guy in, I think it was Washington. It was supposed to be a creepy TikTok, and the guy found a human spine whip. I laughed. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I laughed. But I laughed. And that was the moment where I realized I have changed. And it's a good thing. And I'm a safe person, not a dangerous one. But I'm pretty sure if you threaten a man's woman or his mother, and he's not a dangerous person, he needs a doctor. It's quite healthy to defend your mother or your wife. It's biological to do so. And the only biology I have is the woman next to me. I technically have a lineage from, my biological family, but there's a lot of healing that's needed there. So be careful if you're going to disrespect my wife, because I have a lot of friends, and I will do research and find out who you are. And I mean when I say, if you disrespect my wife, you're going to regret it. It's a fact. And I'm saying that here on live stream on my channel. I am not one of the celebrities. I am not one of those people. I am a very real person. And I have very real fists, and I have very real feelings, and I have a very real family, same as you. And if I remember your name and I remember your face, and you're behaving this way on the internet, and I come find you in real life, and you have a conversation in real life with me about that, you're going to regret having ever said it. So let me find you speaking about my wife ever. And don't even be asking about her in the live streams. Don't ask about her. You're not allowed to. If you're a woman, do whatever you want. That's my rule. If you're a woman, do whatever you want. I can tell you if you're a woman and you're doing it, or you identify differently, I'm gonna have to escort you off the property, off my private property. I'm gonna have to escort you. But if you are a man who is having a conversation about my wife in any way, shape, or form, I'm gonna find you. I recommend taking that threat quite seriously. And I recommend that you, like the US government has a list of dangerous people, I recommend that you put me on a list of people to watch out for if you talk about my wife in any way, shape, or form, good or bad. Her name does not enter your mouth unless I say so or unless she says so. And by I say so, I mean if she says so. That's my wife. She's my life, she's my future. The baby in her belly, that's my future. And I defend that like an animal. And I mean far more than I'm finding any of you do. I don't recommend finding out, because I have it in me, and I know you guys know that. And I'm a good person, I am. And I care a lot about all of you, I do. But I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. I mean it. And good luck proving it if I do something. No one's even going to know what happened. That's a fact. I'm not going to tolerate that level of disrespect. And I know the police aren't going to have a problem with it either. You go ahead and you tell me what cop is going to defend a scumbag talking about my wife. It's not going to happen. I don't know where you guys were raised or what you believe or what you think, but driving a nice car does not get you favor with the police. Being friends with the police doesn't get you favor when a decision of your behavior has passed into a realm where they're going to lose respect for you. And I guarantee you that a lot of these people that you think are your friends are going to be my friends if you disrespect my wife, because I have become a far better person. And if you want to lose your friends and make them my friends, you keep talking. And if you don't, if you're ready to hide in your hole, go hide in your hole. And if not, I'm getting an education. And that education is growing every day, and there is no stopping it. So, you can be twice my age, but you're half my size. And if you disagree, well, I think at that point it's time to, face reality. I do not tolerate my wife being talked about. I'm pretty sure I made that blatantly clear on this video. So, that's all. And the best comparison I could give you, I want you to think about all these rappers and all these, you know, these famous celebrities that are, they're thugs and whatnot, and they really do, you know, get into the thick of it. That's me now. I know it's hard to believe. I'm letting you know. I'm letting you know you don't disrespect my wife. It ain't gonna work. So. And the cops don't like me because I'm white. They like me because I'm respectful. I'm a guy that gets everybody on my side. And if you're not on my side, I don't want you there, and that's why you're not. So, let's all keep learning about one another. I'm gonna try to be as sensitive as I can, and I want you to recognize that when I speak on where I am about these things, I am sensitive as well, and I have feelings. And you don't have to care about that. But there are lines and boundaries here. And if you want your boundaries and lines respected, mine are going to be respected as well. Otherwise, we're going to have a small audience, and I'm okay with that. I still remember making $100 a month on YouTube with like 1,000 subscribers. So, whatever we have to do is what we have to do. Respect Kate's privacy. Yeah. Yep. They're gonna. When I say they're gonna, I mean all of American society, all of the world society is going to respect my wife. There's not a soul dumb enough. I'm praying. What's the lowest? How low can an IQ go? Is it like 20? Something like that? I'm pretty sure I'm making it obvious enough to even those with a low IQ to understand that my wife is to be respected. All right. The lights. I love them. What's up? Oh, there you go, guys. Hey, take a look at the lights. What do you think of the lights? Oh, and if the white vans come around, I'm not afraid anymore. I will do nasty, horrible things to your sexual organs if you come anywhere near my family. I'm letting you know. I sleep with my eyes open. So, yeah. Human trafficking, it's not gonna happen. I'm simply gonna do horrible, nasty things to an individual who probably deserves it anyway. So stay away from my family, because it may look like a tiny little car. Treat it like a tank, because it might as well be a tank. All right, I feel like I have properly stood my ground tonight, and I am grateful that all of you have come tonight. I'm not negative. This is positive. As you can tell, I love all of you. I do. And that includes those who live differently than I do. And I'm grateful for those of you that either tolerate, embrace, or otherwise endure our differences in one way or the other. That's more than American, that's human, that's love. And I'm incredibly blessed to be a part of this community, and I mean the human community, right? That's what I try to portray through my platform, is the human community. And I'm grateful to be around all of you individuals, because we are individuals that get to say we, and that's rare. That's super rare. The lights look great. Thank you. All right, and thank you for the comedic value. Unfortunately, it's inappropriate, and my wife demands a respectful culture, and I'm working on that more every day. Guys, you're the most incredible audience anyone could ask for. And I am 100% sure that the rest of the world would completely disagree and tell me and you that we all suck. And they are wrong, and that's a fact. We are American, or we are human, and we fight for the weak. And that's something that's venerable and honorable in any culture. And anyone that says that we're doing the wrong thing or we're wasting time on people, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't. Because I'm living and breathing here, and it's large in part because of the outcasts and those who are left to the side, those who are the most sensitive and who are treated that they are the failures. They are the reason I am alive. And it's difficult for me now, coming back to the core of who I am, knowing that I am as strong as I am. Let me tell you, there's a place for everybody, because I wouldn't have anything that hashtag feet peace. Absolutely. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it weren't for that, and if it weren't for us. And at the same time, you know, we are the most vicious and competitive people on the planet. We are, right? We're the most compassionate, and we're also the most vicious. How's that possible? I don't know, but it's who we are, and it's what we are. And I don't take nearly as much pride in it as I'm showing right now, but what I'm doing is having a moment, and I'm having it on camera. I'm having that moment of, wow, this is what we are. And I wouldn't have gotten here without any of you. And those of you that toughen me up, I mean, I don't know if you meant to, but you prepared me for this marriage and this family that I have, and you prepared me for my future. Everything you did educated me in ways that only a good parent would do, but in private, like, I mean, what you guys that I claimed you did to me, you ended up doing for me. And it's only because, you know, it's because I rose to the occasion. And that, I mean, that's family, and that is just, it's not possible. It's not possible that I'm raised by a bunch of freaking strangers on the internet that are like the outcasts, who I'm told had these unhealthy families and had this and had that. Well, if you guys were such bad people, then how am I sitting here right now? If you guys are so bad, how am I sitting here? That's my take on it. Like, I stand my ground. I say my family. I say, you know, there's a line there. We don't cross that line. I think that goes that way for everybody. I think we all agree upon that line. So, I mean, you guys are the best. They're wrong. The rest of society is wrong. You're the best. And we're the people that are kind and cordial, and we give our extra heart, and we let the giant guy in the Dodge Charger slam us in the chest 5 or 6 times and not even hit back or get upset, because we have big hearts. And we want the best for people, and we see that a guy like that needs a freaking hug, and so you let him hug you the way I got hugged. And we learn to fight back when we need to, and that's hard, but I'm a lot like you guys now, and you don't have to like me. You can hate me more because I become more like yous, but you saved my life, so you can keep making fun of me. The irony is you saved my life. Saved my freaking life. You toughened me up, and nobody could tough me up. I mean, I had a lot of people try. They couldn't do it. You guys did. You guys did. Now I'm rebuilding that sensitivity. Need to have the sensitivity. And I mean, I know maybe so. I don't know if some of you are on board with that or not or whatever, but yeah, it is the truth. We must be sensitive. It's true. There is suffering in this world far beyond what I would live for, and we have to be sensitive. So the hard part is being tough and sensitive. And now that I am officially going in a circle, and no one has said it to me, and I get to find out for myself. Thank you for coming in tonight. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for letting me hang out with you. Thanks for giving me your time. Thank you. Thank you. Now I finally see it'll all work out. Believe it. Thank you. Thank you for letting me give you my time. Thank you for being more than a narcissist. Thank you for being mature enough to let me give you my time. And seeing value in my time brings me value to know that you value my time too. It makes me feel, it helps me understand that I got this, and we got this, and we got this, right? And nobody gets left behind. And when I say nobody, I mean nobody gets left behind. We are, every stop we take, everything we do, we are writing down all the places that we meet people, all that, and keeping a record. We're keeping a freaking record. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud to say that this is our legacy, and it starts right here. And it does start with a lot of you guys, and it goes a lot further than YouTube. It goes a lot further than social media. So let's keep it up. And it'll be good to talk soon. She goes, nobody puts Jimmy in the corner. Carrie, you know what? I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for all you guys and girls and everyone in between. I mean it. I am so sorry. And Carrie, even every single one of you, if I could see you in person and give you a hug, and for the past stuff from the past, things that were said between us, however you feel about me over what I've said and done, that's up to you. I could tell you that I am coming to understand why what was said to me, and I don't have much to say about it. And what was done to me was done to me. It ended up saving my life in a lot of ways, because I was sticking my nose in places where I really would have gotten myself killed. And I mean for real. And I mean, what you guys did to me ended up saving my freaking life. And maybe you knew that, maybe you meant to, maybe you didn't. But I'm here right now, and I'm not ready for round 2 of that. I'm smart enough and mature enough to say, hey, I made a mistake and I need to move on. And this moving on is into a space where this becomes a healthy balance and a healthy distance. So like I said, I'm a real guy, and I'm not going to end up Little Peep. I'm not going to end up XXX Tenation or any of those people, or any of these YouTubers that, you know, ended up in a rough spot or have passed away, right? I keep my eyes open, and I'm going to continue to ask you guys, if you will, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you have been looking out for me in real life. If you will, please don't go indifferent on me now. Don't go indifferent, because I'm defending my family as best as I can, and it is a tank. At the same time, there's still a lot of people out there that have wisdom beyond my years that I can understand. So for those of you that are still out there watching over us, please continue to watch over us, and don't give up on that. Please do whatever you can to make yourself unknown, that I don't know you're there, because you know, it is my job to defend my family. So if I'm seeing somebody, or I'm seeing something, I'm seeing a pattern, like, I gotta pursue that. I gotta find out what's going on, and I gotta protect my family. And I'm assuming it's a threat, you know. I mean, I'm not gonna be under the assumption that someone creeping in the background of my life is protecting me. You know, I ain't no guardian angel. So if that's how it is, because sometimes that does go on, I don't know how to tell the difference. So if you get known and I see you and I come up to you, I'm gonna insult you, and just keep doing what you're doing, you know, blow me off and keep doing what you're doing. But because I don't really know how to tell the difference between who's who, and the only thing I can do is defend my family. So be okay. It's all we ever wanted. I believe that. I truly believe that. I do. And I appreciate it. And I'm wrong about this lifestyle. I am doing everything I can to get us through this, and asking for help where I can and have to, and also working through it through this. And as far as the 9 to 5 and everything, guys, you got to know, like, that's not an option. It's not. There are certain bridges that have been burned, and due to my background and everything, it's not even possible. It's not possible. So this is where it has to be. This is where it has. I know. I see some people don't want to hear that. Then you can't relate, and you're judging me, and you can't relate. You don't understand where I'm at. You don't know where my life is. It's not a personal decision or an excuse. It's like if we stop, it's bad. So I cannot explain that right now. I cannot. But I think a lot of you at this point, with as much information that has been disseminated into society about what's going on with the media and everything, I think you guys now know that I was telling the truth back then, or at least I hope you do. And this is where we're at. So it's a good space to be. It's a good start. And I hope we can continue to share. And that's a huge thing for me, is that I don't want to take it to the point of where, okay, now we're like indifferent about each other. That's fine, and we can keep it there. But you better believe we gotta start taking it further. Like, life is made to take it further. It's made to take it further. So to push those boundaries and to see what can we make of this, right? And whereas some of these YouTubers and whatnot, they push the boundary to the content they create. No, I wanna push the boundaries of the relationships that we can build and what we can create together. What, you know, it's super impactful. This is so impactful that, I mean, we're beating the algorithm. I want you guys to recognize that every single one of my platforms is like mass reported constantly and all of that. And even though things are still really small, it's important to recognize this is a lot of people for like being completely blacklisted, which, whether you know it or not, I am entirely blacklisted on every single social media platform. And I am still getting this amount of we have this many people here, and that's huge. And I'm not blacklisted by the platforms themselves. I'm blacklisted by, you know, groups of terrorists. Not even kidding you. They're people that they gather and they do this kind of thing, and it's terrorism. It's not only illegal, it's terroristic, because it affects the American economy. And not oh me, but it's like they're doing it to millions of people. They're not only doing it to me. So it's important to be careful. I'm gonna move on with my night. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm excited to see you again another day. Talk to you soon.